got the government right now asking you to share your opinions in a survey, don't bother. We won't provide the document, but in that document, there's actually a timeline of when the decisions are going to be announced, and expect a final decision, regardless of how many surveys have been presented to the government. Expect the final decision on the refocused healthcare system by fall of this year. So by the fall legislative session, you will see the new Alberta refocused healthcare system. So, of course, always like and subscribe across the top there. You can find AB Poli on Twitter, AB_Poli, on Facebook at abpoli.ca. Purchase the official merchandise at abpoli.ca. Buy us a coffee. Donate to the campaigns. ko-fi.com/abpoli. And subscribe and support substack.com at abpoli. Of course, right here on Talking Truth on the YouTube channel, smash that notification button, like and subscribe, join the chat on YouTube, as we will be able to answer your questions and have the conversation live tonight. If you're watching on Twitter, feel free to email us, abpolica@gmail.com, with questions or concerns, or DM us on Twitter, or just tag us in a message. We'll get back to you as well. Might not answer during tonight's show, but we'll answer at a future AB Poli Talking Truth Takeover. Again, we are talking truth on the refocusing of healthcare and why it's just Reaganomics. So how did we get here? Well, unfortunately, we got here in this current state thanks to the previous government. And I know people will say, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. It's the UCP. It was the PCs. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. But let's take a look at where we got here. Where we got here is Alberta has no money to fix Red Deer Hospital space crunch. Health Minister Sarah Hoffman of the NDP says they inherited a $700 million in deferred maintenance from the last government. And this was posted, story of September 2016. Now, the problem stems here is the fact that during the entire time that the Rachel Notley NDP were in government with Sarah Hoffman as the health minister, no work, no renovations, no expansions, no plans other than a $1 million survey was done for Central Alberta's healthcare, especially the Red Deer Regional Health Center. So in comes a group that is trying to save the Red Deer Hospital. They had a number of influential people involved in this group, including one of the matriarchs of Central Alberta in Joan Donald, the widow of recently deceased Jack Donald family, Donald School of Business in Red Deer for the Red Deer Polytechnic, as well as multiple donations to the Festival of Trees and all sorts of other things. Lots of things are named after the Donald family, long-term supporters. Well, they had, they're part of this group. This group was also led by a former doctor of the Red Deer Regional Hospital who ran under the Alberta Party. Alberta Party didn't do enough with the doctor as that candidate, and we got Adrienne LaGrange. Adrienne LaGrange takes over and is the education minister, and the UCP take over as the acting government under Jason Kenney. And what happens? lots of promises for the Red Deer Hospital. Again, Central Alberta has not had services. There's still like the golden hour if you have any sort of cardiac issues. The golden hour is pretty desperate in Red Deer. So why we talk about that? Well, here's the thing. We've got a lot of people here in rural Alberta. I'm in Central Alberta myself. So knowing, and I've been a patient in the Red Deer Hospital multiple occasions, including a stent procedure to remove kidney stones. Anyhow, the whole process is the fact that for whatever reason, people in Red Deer and rural Alberta want to vote in the Conservative government. Well, here's the problem. Unless you have a helicopter or a private jet and a pilot with you at all times, having a decimated healthcare system in Central Alberta, you're going to die. It doesn't matter how much money you have. You will die because there isn't proper healthcare in Central Alberta for Central Albertans. So the UCP have come and said, oh, we're going to fix that. How they're going to fix it? Well, that was Don McIntyre. Well, we will talk about Don McIntyre for just a slight bit. Don McIntyre is he's a awful person. He was charged with crimes of abuse, but he was part of that story. Anyhow, we've got him talking about that. In 2017, AHS released a 2017 multi-year health facility infrastructure capital submission, listed 9 priority projects, 4 in Calgary, 2 in Edmonton, 1 in Lethbridge, 1 provincial project involving both Lethbridge and Ponoka. No Red Deer included. And at that point, Red Deer South MLA Barb Miller, you know Barb Miller as the coffee lady. Google Barb Miller and NDP and see how her stint as the MLA was there. A lot of Rachel Notley photo ops when the NDP were in power to break ground in RDP as well as other places, but no ground was broken. No ground was broken or was any money really placed into the Red Deer Hospital. So that takes us into where we are. Well, where we are under the Jason Kenney government, we've got a privatization idea. And when we're starting with the privatization idea, it actually started in 2018 under the NDP government. The NDP government was not, the banking was on the fact that the UCP government would be getting in, but we've got the start of this is Medavie Health Services launches Medavie Health Services West. So the launch of Medavie Health Services West brings together 3 Western emergency medical service companies, MD Ambulance, Guardian Ambulance, and Prairie EMS into a single organization that reflects its regional expertise and leadership in primary care. So what is Medavie Health Services? Well, Medavie Health Services is a health foundation based in the Maritimes. And why this is so interesting, well, it's not interesting, this is why you need to know about this, we'll get to shortly. First of all, we want to talk about where we work, MHS West. So Medavie Health Services launched in 2018, bringing together 3 Western companies, as we talked about, in a single regional organization, the better, blah, blah, blah. Well, the contact is Medavie Health Services West, 430 Melville Street, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Why is that important? Well, you see, the director of communications for Medavie Health Services, well, let's just go and look at their Facebook page. So first of all, their Facebook page is a profile, not a group or any of those sort of things. So it was a profile created under Medavie Health Services. And you look at, there's some stuff that happened in Saskatoon, Teddy Bears Anonymous, some good work done with the public safety telecommunications, all that sort of stuff. That's great. Their service, whatever. But here's your contact. And take a look at this right here. It's troy.davies at medaviehs.com. And who is Troy Davies? Well, that's an interesting aspect as well. Clearly, Troy has got some sort of aspect in starting that Facebook profile. But Troy is also Saskatoon City Councillor Troy Davies in Ward 4. Honesty, integrity, dedicated to her community. Best city councillor. Lots of tweets about the Saskatoon Blades. But if you look at Troy's, get past his Twitter BS here. If we can get to the website's pretty poorly made, actually. About Troy. Worked as an advanced care paramedic since 1994 and continues to do so today. So Troy's a paramedic. Great for Troy. Promoted to Director of Public Affairs and Media Relations for MD Ambulance Care in Saskatoon. Okay. Makes sense. Troy's wife's a hair salon owner. Good for them. Small business. Always good. But the thing is Troy is the voice of Medavie Emergency Services. Well, let's take a look at Medavie a little bit for you. So, improving the well-being of Canadians from Atlantic Canada to Quebec, Ontario, and the Prairies are over 8,000 employees working together towards a healthier Canada. We're a health solutions partner. Okay. Makes sense. So about us, improve the well-beings, Canada's top 100 employers 2024. Good for them. Clients and communities are their foundation. Well, they oversee Medavie Blue Cross, a premier all-in-one benefits carrier and public health program administrator, and Medavie Health Services, which is the national primary healthcare solutions organization and largest contracted provider of EMS management services in Canada. Well, that sounds so good. And the foundation, if you go to their site here, it's some good stuff looking at healthy living, youth mental health, post-traumatic stress. Some really good things that they're doing here. And they're seeking sponsorships for events and all that stuff. Good for them. That's great. But really focused on Medavie Blue Cross for some reason that just jumps out at me. Why would a healthcare, like, what is this? Why are all these services under one banner? When you do a deeper dive into Medavie, you go into their leadership, and the leadership is listed not on their health services, but the Blue Cross site. And here's where you have your board of directors. Kim West is chair, Ed Barrett, co-executive or co-chief executive officer. Dr. Myrna Francis is the president of MIFRAN HealthCare Advisory Services. Robert Guise is the president and chief executive officer, Canadian Wireless Telecom Association. Susan Kutzman is retired executive VP, chief risk officer in corporate affairs. She was with the Laurentian Bank of Canada in Montreal, Quebec. Bernard Lord is the CEO and based out of Moncton, New Brunswick. Why does Bernard Lord sound familiar? Well, Bernard Lord is when Pierre-Yves Julien retired as the company CEO in 2016. Bernard Lord was president and CEO of the Canadian Wireless Telecoms Association, which you saw another person was that now, is now the CEO of Medavie. Well, Lord served as Premier of New Brunswick from 1999 to 2006, President of the Telecom, Chair of the Ontario Power Generation, former Progressive Conservative Premier, was possible successor to Stephen Harper when the federal cons were defeated in 2015 federal election. He didn't want to join the federal Tories, though. He figured that he could do more good things with Medavie emergency services. So again, Medavie EMS, largest provider of emergency medical services in Canada, largest ambulance operator in Massachusetts. Now, why would a Canadian medical service provider also do stuff in Massachusetts? Again, very interesting. So when we go back to the leadership, which we will, and you've got your senior management team at Blue Cross, Blue Cross, Blue Cross. Okay, so that's good. But there's something here that really is interesting, is the fact that Medavie, when we look at the Medavie Foundation, well, they're listed as a charity. Okay, fine. Registered charity since 2003. Designation of a public foundation. Well, let's take a look at their finances quickly here. Basic information sheet. Okay, nothing too out of the ordinary there. Was charity subordinate position they had body, charity designated as public foundation or private foundation? Yes, of course. Okay. Directors and trustees. And yeah, so you go in here and incorrect form in the field. All right, so they're not listing your directors and trustees. Foundation continues its work with adolescent mental health. And select all the advertising and all that stuff. Did charity receive any donations or gifts of kind valued at $10,000 or more from a donor that was not resident in Canada? No. Charity receive any non-cash gifts? Nope. Charity acquire non-qualifying security? Nope. Charity issue any tax receipts for donations on behalf of another organization? Nope. All right. Let's go in their finances. And detailed financial information can't be found. So, government website, just lovely. So, we're going in here of the advanced search, which doesn't do us any good. Let's just do a quick search here. So, period ending in December 2022, last tax year, Foundation continues to support the 3 core causes areas: adolescent mental health, healthy living, and post-traumatic stress. All sounds great. Doing a good job. Way to go, Medavie. Well, here's their expenses. Gifts to other registered charities and qualified donees, $4.8 million. Other, $621,595,000. Total compensation for all positions, full-time or part-time employees, they don't have any. Professional and consulting fees, $493,498. That is really, and they're not showing the thing, I believe, hold on, that I have a screenshot, that I took a screenshot of this, which is great because when the system's not working, we have the documented evidence, which is what we wanted. And when we look at that, and we have the screenshot of the P.O. Box is, so the foundation's address is P.O. Box 220, 644 Main Street, Moncton, New Brunswick. And what do we know about these P.O. boxes, and what's with all the charities in the P.O. boxes, especially conservative charities with P.O. boxes? So we can show you the information. What we did find is actually, and we suggest you go in and just type in Medavie Foundation into the government website. We found out that they have tens of millions of dollars in investments, in holdings that are accounted for, but aren't going anywhere. Okay. So seems really weird that a foundation would have that much money and be donating that much money. Well, why? What, if they're just they're providing the services, but they're providing the services as a foundation? Really interesting indeed. Okay, so we'll leave that for now. And we've got so Medavie. When we go into the archive article from 2013, was Eric Sand was the president at Medavie, and so received his MBA from the Ivy School of Business, blah 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 blah. So talking about manages 9 subsidiary companies in the fields of pre-hospital hospital emergency medical services and public safety delivery, but it's all listed under the Medavie Foundation. That's the only thing when we're looking at dollars and cents for this organization, it keeps coming back to that foundation. So why is that so important? Well, when we look at where we're going, that's the capital plan. And the capital plan is, let's just share here why so interested here. Going to the key investments. So $7.2 billion over 3 years to support municipalities to build and create vibrant communities. Okay. Nothing too out of the ordinary there. $129 million to support ongoing work to twin Highway 11 between Rocky Mountain House and Sylvan Lake. Driven that myself. It does need work. $2.1 billion to support 98 school projects, add modular school classrooms, and support charter and collegiate schools. Again, more money for charter schools, less money for public schools, because Bill Haight originally in 2019, Jason Kenney and Adrienne Lagrange removed the word public from schools in the budget. So all school funding goes to schools, and then they can distribute that funding as they see fit, which this current government sees fit to provide more funding to charter and religious schools. $810 million to advance the redevelopment and expansion of Red Deer Regional Hospital Center. Awesome. This is a good thing for Central Alberta. $654 million to build and modernize continuing care facilities across the province. Remember that one. We'll get back to that shortly. $313 million for the Alberta Surgical Initiative to increase the number of surgical procedures performed annually. While the issue with that, especially in Red Deer, that is a MASH unit and does not have enough surgical space in their OR, these surgical procedures are being sent off to multiple locations, including Rocky Mountain House. Why is Rocky Mountain House so important? Well, Rocky Mountain House got a big expansion to their facility for private surgical work. Still under the banner of the public system, supposedly, but it's a private surgical system running out of Rocky Mountain House. All right. $35 million for the EMS Vehicles Capital Program to purchase new EMS vehicles and ambulances and upgrade the existing fleet. Well, if this was still AHS, you'd be purchasing vehicles for your Alberta Health Services. No problem. But the Smith-led UCP government has clearly chosen not to do such things and has chosen to go with Medavie as the ambulatory service. And as we saw, Medavie was listed as they just added more service for patient transportation to Calgary. Okay, this is interesting. Well, let's go to an article from the paramedicchiefs.ca. Ambulance manufacturer increases production. Crestline Coach tackles production lead times through its expansion project. Date, April 25th, 2023, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Crestline Coach, a global ambulance manufacturer, proud to unveil an additional 30,000 square foot of manufacturing space at its existing facility in Saskatoon, marking the completion of a major initiative to address the critical supply of ambulances to its EMS fire-based customers across North America. Project began in 2020. We had no idea what was ahead of us through the pandemic and all this stuff. That's great. All talking from Steve Hofferoge, the president, Canada, Demers Crestline. Okay. So about Crestline Coach, the global leader in ambulance specialty vehicle manufacturing since 1975. They've had the standards and they had this manufacturing facility out of Saskatoon, which is great. You have a Canadian company. That's that success story, Saskatoon. About Demers Braun Ambulance Manufacturer. Through its strong family brands, Demers, Braun, Crestline, Medics, the company operates 6 production service sites across North America and employs over 1,000 team members. The company is the second largest ambulance manufacturer in North America. Offering of ambulance product ranges from the price-conscious value ambulance to highly customized specialty vehicle. And you can learn more from Demers, Braun, Crestline, Medics, Save Lives, demersambulances.com, Braun Ambulances. Okay. So clearly they got some sort of heads up that they're going to need to increase their manufacturing of the ambulances because there's going to be an increase of customers, which would mean Medavie, which is the Alberta government, is using Medavie, which is a private company, to provide ambulance and EMS service across the province, or expanding across the province. Currently, it's in central Alberta and some in the south in Calgary. And Medavie is run out of New Brunswick. Wow, it all just seems to come together somewhat. So when we're looking at the Medavie, we can look at, first of all, let's take a look at Demers Crestline ambulance manufacturer. Well, when you search Demers ambulance manufacturer, you got this registration for a consultant. Well, that seems interesting. 4 reports and registered from 2021 to 2022, from 2022 to 2022, from 2022 to 2023, which would be shortly before the expansion in Saskatoon. Well, who is doing this? Well, it's Hughes Mousseau Consultant, which is lobbyist, HACO Advisory Services, lobbying information. So they lobbying Transport Canada, lobbying in Quebec. Registration is now inactive, which is quite interesting, for ambulance manufacturing from Demers, which is Crestline. Okay, so we've got lobbyists lobbying for expansion of this. We've got a provincial government in Alberta that has now switched, or in the process of switching, your EMS services. And when this whole refocused healthcare system is finalized, bet dollars to donuts that Medavie will be running the EMS part of the healthcare system. Okay. So you're like, okay, ADC, you're just like conspiracy theorist. You're going somewhere here. We don't understand where you're going. Don't worry, we'll get there. So when we look up Crestline and Medavie and all these other places, it all goes back to some sort of connection to Clear Spring Capital Partners. Now, what did Clear Spring Capital Partners do? Well, they provided the funding for the expansion of Crestline. Okay. You got your managing director for ClearSpring. Serves as chairman of the board of directors for Demers Ambulances. Isn't that the medical, like Mediv? Didn't we just talk about Demers? Did we just talk about lobbyists? And this hedge fund manager for ClearSpring Capital Partner is on the chair of the board of directors for it. Okay. Prior to joining ClearSpring, Larry's career included founding and serving as CEO of Chapters. You know, Chapters that destroyed the book industry, wiping out Smith Books and Kohl's, and created Chapters. And Chapters is going to be Chapter 11 or whatever at some point. I attended Royal Military College, served as Canadian, blah, 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 MBA from Harvard. Served on the board of directors of some of Canada's largest, most successful companies over the past 20 years, including CAAE, Oshawa Foods, Forzani Group, Sobeys. He also served on the SNC Lavalin board for 18 years and chairman of the board for his final 3 years. You remember SNC Lavalin, don't you? Wasn't that what Trudeau was all tied up to? The Liberals, SNC Lavalin, corruption, maybe. Served on numerous not-for-profit boards. Honored in November 2022 as a Founder Award for the Fraser Institute. I do not need to say more about the Fraser Institute. So, that's Larry. That's who's running the ship here. Well, one of the partners is John Veach. John joined in 2013. Currently leads ClearSpring's investment in Demers Ambulance. That's the same ambulance that Crestline, Expansion, that Daniel Smith and UCB government are now making the supplier for Alberta. Interesting. And he did a bunch of financial stuff prior. Malop Choksey is another partner. He's board director and lead asset manager of Regal Confections and Voyages Traders. He was senior leader for Canadian Tire Corp. Worked closely with the executive team with the $15 billion family of companies, including Canadian Tire Retail, Sport Check, Marks, Gas Plus, Canadian Tire Bank, CT Rate, and others. He's blah, 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 more money. Old Joe Schleisinger serves on the board of directors of Regal and Demers. Senior advisor. A lot of people are on that board of directors for Demers. Really interesting that a capital partner, a hedge fund, is making the decisions for this ambulance manufacturer. Okay. So we've gone through that. Well, let's go through their portfolio because this is where it gets really interesting. So investments, Technique Canada is a driving school in Quebec. Nothing that really is a red flag here. Demers Ambulance, based out of Quebec. Investment dates are 2018, 2019, and 2021. Market leader in ambulance manufacturing in Canada, dominant player in the U.S. So not only in Canada, but also the U.S. Regal, Telecom, Voyages, Tradeur. Okay, Alarm Force. So they are also investors in Alarm Force. Okay. Homewood Corporation. Okay, why does this one matter? Well, you see, the Homewood Health Center, one of the largest mental health and addiction facilities in Canada, unique in Canadian healthcare, serving as a specialized provincial and national resource, as well as providing essential regional services for residents of southwestern Ontario. One of the very few private hospitals in Ontario. Well, you go to Homewood Health, and they've got all these things that say Guelph, Ontario, but there's the Homewood Health Center mental health treatment. Okay, well, that just seems really there's something familiar about that. Well, let's not go here. Let's go here. Under the banner of the Homewood Health and your Edgewood Health. And that's what we have in. Yeah, we're here for you today. Yes. So Edgewood Treatment Center in Nanaimo. Edgewood Center. Yeah, go away. Locations. Oh, Red Deer Recovery Community. Really? Government-funded, independently run addiction treatment center in Red Deer, Alberta. Are all programs in Red Deer community free? They're funded by the government of Alberta for Alberta residents. Licensed under the Alberta Health Act. But, okay, so that's great that you're doing these sort of things. But where's the Edgewood Health there? It's a network. It's a financial network. It's a private company. So you've got a private company that is providing the services of healthcare, mental health care in particular, with their services. Yes, it's paid for by our like you're a citizen of Alberta, you qualify, you wouldn't have to pay for it. However, why are we utilizing a private system to provide mental health aspect that's supposed to be public health? Private with public. So yes, you don't have to pay right now, but someone's paying. And someone's paying a lot. And they're paying a lot to refocus this healthcare. So we go back to the government website. And if you want to go look at more of the Edgewood, you can actually go and find it on the government website. When you go and look at facilities, it'll go right to the Edgewood thing when you look in Red Deer. So a refocused healthcare system, what does it mean for you? Timely access to healthcare practitioner, shorter wait times for surgery and at the ER, expanded access to mental health and addiction treatment. But that expanded access to mental health and addiction treatment is providing funding to a private company. So right now, everything is hunky-dory because you don't have to pay anything because it's still under private/public. Well, what's to say that they don't shift things? Like when your healthcare provider, like Medavie, Blue Cross, if you have them, that when they take things away, when they change your benefit packages and it doesn't no longer qualifies this pharmaceutical or eyewear or any of these sort of things. So what happens if this private system decides that it's not going to cover everything? And right now the government covers all the things because they're paying the private system to have this stuff. What if this government decides they don't want to do that anymore? Or they're going to increase something, like charge you for medical. When I first moved to Alberta, and Ralph Klein was premier in his last few years, I paid for my medical in Alberta because I was not in Alberta. Like I'd moved here, so I was not from Alberta, so I had to pay for my medical. So it's just interesting that this capital, the Clear Spring Capital Partner, has got all these things that they're funding. Okay. So they also fund the CBI and CBI Health. Strong experience management team, that sort of thing. Well, why does CBI Health pop up? That seems familiar too. Well, when we go back to, and apologize if I'm going too fast here. So when we look at the refocusing on the healthcare and medical or mental health, in November 2023, they announced they're refocusing that. So you've got your AHS is being dissolved. And tell you that from personal experience, as my position as a board member, a volunteer board member on the provincial advisory council, as well as on the addictions and mental health board, are being dissolved as of June, because AHS is going to a new mental health and addiction organization called Recovery Alberta. Then all mental health and addiction services currently delivered by HS will be responsible from Recovery Alberta. And the stats, your testimonials, if you can say that. Premier Danielle Smith says refocusing healthcare enables us to better prioritize the healthcare services Albertans need, giving Albertans living with mental health or addiction challenges an opportunity to pursue recovery and live a contributing life. It is the responsible and compassionate thing to do. I am so proud of the work we've done to be leaders on recovery. I'm looking forward to seeing both Recovery Alberta and the Canadian Centre of Recovery Excellence continue this work for years to come. Well, the Canadian Centre of Recovery Excellence is a line that has not been established yet. Based in Alberta, Canada, CORE will provide leadership and recovery excellence with Alberta, blah, 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 blah. Oh, you can register here for aligned stuff. Disclaimer of endorsement and liability based out of Edmonton. We're a provincial collection of allies, a unified community of agencies that represents the diverse needs of Alberta's children and families. So, about a line. And line mission, this, that, and the other thing. So your executive director is Rhonda Barclow. And Rhonda is known in the community for doing great things with the government. Formerly the AASCF membership organization, agencies that contract to the Ministry of Human Services in the child welfare area. So what we have is a organization to give more direction to the government or in direct communication with the government, blah, blah, blah. And the experience that we have from Rhonda is she worked for the government. So that is your new thing that's going to be the recovery of excellence. And yeah, it's just the big spring membership meetings at the Red Deer Casino. Good for them. And yeah, the core center of excellence. There's the page here. Mental health mha.communications@gov.ab.ca. And the source, Refocusing Health. So basically, they're just copying and pasting from one source to another. And this core center of recovery excellence is going to be run by the same peckerhead that was the one recovering addict that didn't need safe supply that came from BC. And yeah, going back to more testimonials. Alberta is the leading country with the development of the Alberta Recovery Model to address mental health and addiction challenges. Establishment of these two new organizations will support the delivery of recovery-oriented services to Albertans and will further cement Alberta as a leader in the field. Proud to establish Recovery Alberta and CORE. Dan Williams, Minister of Mental Health, Addiction, and Minister of Cracking a Beer in the Ledge. Last but not least, we're making good progress on Refocusing HealthCare in Alberta. Today marks a pivotal milestone towards creating a system that truly serves the needs of Albertans. Through this refocused approach, our aim is to prioritize the needs of individuals and families to find a primary care provider, get urgent care without long waits, access the best community care options, have robust support systems for addiction recovery and mental health treatment. Adrienne Lagrange, Minister of Health. Mr. Lagrange also is going to do lots of good things to make sure the NICU patients in Edmonton don't die. As you can see, I'm very, very excited and confident in this government to do these things. Now, the only good part of Recovery Alberta, I will say that this is true. The leadership team, if the current Chief Program Officer for Addictions, Mental Health, and Correction Health Services within AHS stays with the organization has hope. Carrie Bales is an amazing community leader and a voice for the voiceless. As long as Carrie is in some sort of position of direction, good things could come from this organization. Unfortunately, I don't think that Kerry's going to have a big enough voice to overtake the first three that we listened to. And we've got bots coming into the Twitch stream. So we're going to take a quick break. When we return, we're going to get back to refocusing healthcare is just Reaganomics rhetoric.